Namaste. Welcome back to your 10-day yoga challenge. We are on day 7. And today's class is all about happy hips, open mind, happy mind. So they do say that our emotions get stored in our body. Thoughts, feelings that we have all translate into physical sensations that we have in our body. And sometimes those move through us and move on, and sometimes they get stuck or stored. Maybe they get stored in tension and tightness. And that's why it's not uncommon after yoga practice or even after massage, any type of body work, that we have a sense of release or maybe a big emotional release. So in our practice today, the intention is to work into our hips, where they say that we store a lot of our anxieties and even our fears, our closed-mindedness, so that we have a little bit more peace and ease, happiness, and more openness in the mind. So let's see. We're going to start in a kneeling position. So coming to either sit on your knees, and if you're not happy with that, you can start seated in a cross-legged position. And we're just going to take a few moments to close the eyes. Before we begin our practice, just noticing how we are arriving today. How do we feel today? Are we feeling tensed? Are we feeling anxious? Or are we feeling quite happy and relaxed? How do we want to feel? And sometimes when we're experiencing anxiousness or worry, or we're overthinking something, it narrows our focus. So that's all that we can think about, that's all that we can see. And we forget about the bigger picture. So this opportunity is just a chance to step back and away from whatever it is that's going on right now in our lives. And each time you will play this video, that will be different, perhaps. And just take a few moments to release the body and to come home back into the body with the focus on releasing our hips. So let's come now over onto our hands and knees. Onto all fours, spreading the hands quite wide, hands under the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And let's just start by pressing into the hips from side to side. Let the hips swing over to the right and then swinging over to the left. And as we do that, we're pressing into the glute medius here, the outer parts of the glutes, the buttocks, the hips. And for some, that can get quite tight, so this might feel like a nice release. And then we're just going to make some circles with our hips. Coming forward, feel the weight on your hands, circling. Link that with the breath. Inhale as you come forward. Exhale as you go back. And circle in the opposite direction. Inhaling as we come forward. Exhaling as we go back. And then just coming back to our center point. Inhale, lifting the chin, the tailbone, so we're moving the pelvis, that hub of our hips. And as we exhale, tucking the tailbone, rounding the back. Let's do 2 more of those. Inhaling. And exhale, really feeling this movement from the pelvis. The pelvis tips forward, sit bones lift up. And the pelvis tucks under, sit bones point down. And then coming back to an all fours position, realigning the spine. We're going to bring that left knee just a little bit in towards the middle, extending that right leg back behind us. Inhale here, belly is drawing in nice and tight. As we exhale, bring your right knee in toward your nose, rounding your back slightly. Lift your right leg out, make a full circle as big as you can take it. Inhale, and as you exhale, pull it in. Like a cat stretch. Inhale, take it out and around one more time like this. Exhale, pull it in. This is a great way of opening up the hips. And then reverse that for 3. Inhaling around. Exhale, pulling back and up. Inhaling around. Exhale, pulling back and up. One more time. Inhaling around and pulling back and up. Now this time, swing that foot all the way beside the right hand. Ha. And then we're going to sink the hips down, looking forward, pull the chest forward. Inhale. This is called lizard's lunge. So many options. We can keep the arms straight, sink the hip. Try to get your back knee as far back behind you. We wouldn't want it to look like this. Try to get that back leg back. If you have open hips, you can even come down a little bit further onto your forearms. And you can even put pillows or these yoga blocks underneath the arms to bring the floor up just a little bit higher, whether that's forearms or hands. And taking one more breath here, really opening up for the hips. We're going to turn this pose into a twist. Left hand will come to the floor. Lean into that that left hand, and you want to take it slightly wider than your shoulder distance. Right hand will come to that right knee. Let your knee drop open so your big toe is kind of rolling off of the floor. And then just looking over your back shoulder, letting that left hip sink a little deeper. Push into that left hand so that you're not sinking in the shoulder. One more breath. And then taking that right hand back to the floor, and we're going to slide back, dropping our hips back into a child's pose. Just a little transition here. Big breath. Then we're going to come to the other side, back up to all fours, to our hands and knees. Inhale, extend that left leg back, feeling the belly nice and strong. Pull up navel to spine. As we exhale, we're going to pull the knee in and round your back as if you're trying to bring your knee to your nose. And then inhale, make a big circle. Take it back. Exhale, pull it in again. Inhale, a big circle. Take it back. Exhale. Inhale one more time this way. Opening up that hip. See how big of a movement you can get, and then we're going to reverse it. So not only are we opening this left hip, lubricating that hip joint, but you're also probably feeling it in your right side as well. So we're strengthening the muscles of the hip, the glutes, the buttocks. One more circle here, inhaling around. Beautiful. And then inhale, pull it back, and as we exhale, step that foot on the outside of your left hand. See if you can wiggle the right knee back just a little bit more. Settling in here. Remember, those props are always useful, and they never take away from your pose. They only ever add to your pose. So never feel bad for grabbing a block or a pillow and using that to help find more room in your body, more space. This is about creating space, opening the hips so that we can in turn find a little bit more openness in the mind, calmness in the mind. Try to cultivate that sense of calmness now, even here in this demanding and challenging pose, by slowing your breath down. Just being in it wherever you need to be for one more breath. And walking the hands back, taking your right hand just a little bit wider so that you can lean over onto that right hand and really push down into the right hand so our shoulder feels strong and supported. Left hand to that left thigh. Let the knee drop open, the big toe, the second, third toe even rolls off the mat, and look over that back shoulder. Keep pushing the floor away. If that's too much on that wrist at any time, you can come down and do this on your forearm. And then we're going to reset, hands back to the floor. This time we're going to step back into a downward facing dog. Marching out the legs, bending the knees one at a time, letting the head drop. Beautiful. Lifting up the hips and pulling the thighs back here. Taking a full deep breath. And then we're going to inhale, lift the right leg to the sky. As we do, really root into the hands so they're strong. Bend the right knee and open up the right hip. Let your right hip roll upwards to the sky so it's almost stacking over your left. Big stretch for the insides of the thighs. And then we're going to swing that right foot through between the hands. Boop. Help it get along there until it does get to the top of the mat. Then bring your back knee down to the floor, look forward. Inhale, sweep the arms upwards to the sky. Lift the chest, soften the shoulders. Keep long through the back of the neck. And this is a great pose for this hip flexor here. And in fact, let's take our hands to our thigh. And you're just going to press the hands forward into the thigh, leaning your upper body just as far back away from your thigh as it's possible. And you'll feel more stretch here. Again, the more our knee is directly under our hip, the less stretch we're going to get. We really want to kind of get an arc shape here, a bow shape from the knee to the hip. And then we're going to take the hands to the floor. We're going to transition to standing by tucking the toes under, coming up onto the ball of the foot, pause, and then inhale, either sweeping the arms forward and up or walking your hands up your legs. Take your time to transition here. Sink that front leg just a little bit more forward, lifting up through the hips. And then we're going to open up into our warrior two pose. Now this is an opening pose for the hips. Try to push the thighs back, opening up into those inner hips even more. And then we're going to cartwheel the hands back down. Back into our downward facing dog. Lift the hips. Inhale, lift the left leg to the sky, bend the knee. Opening up the pelvis, left hip rolls over the right. Again, another big stretch out for the inner thighs. And then we're going to step that left foot forward and through between the hands. Take your time as you land and pause. Bring your back knee to the floor. And then inhaling to rise. Reaching the arms up to the sky, feel the sides of your waist lift, sink the hips forward, and then bring your hands to that front thigh, push down and forward and lean the torso slightly back, deepening that stretch for the right hip flexor. One more breath here. And then taking your hands back to the floor, tuck the back toes, come onto the ball of the foot, strong legs as we rise, inhaling, arms up. And then exhaling into our warrior two pose. And here again, you want to feel the hips are opening. Pull the hips back, left hip, left thigh pulls back, right hip, right thigh pulls back. One more breath. And then we're going to cartwheel the hands around, come back to the floor. Walk that left foot back and walk your hands back towards your feet. So we're going to come into a forward fold at the back of our mat. Beautiful. Now from here, turn the toes out. And I'd like you to start with your heels slightly close. So there's about 2 fists of a width between your heels. And then bend your knees and see if it's possible to sink down. I'm going to turn so you can see. Sinking down so that we're in Malasana. Now, the closer our heels are together, the easier it's going to be for most people's bodies. Then the challenge comes to take the feet a little bit wider. And maybe as we do that, those heels start to come closer to the floor. It doesn't work for everyone's body, so just be exactly where you need to be today. You can keep your hands to the floor, or let's take a moment with the hands at our heart. Knees and thighs open. Notice if that is not only challenging for the physical body, but challenging for the mind. And trying to relax the body through slow breaths. Releasing this deep-seated tension here in the hips. As we do, creating more space for the mind, clearer head space as well. Then we're going to take our hands to the floor and stretch our legs upwards to the sky. Give everything a little shake, a little wiggle. Then we're going to come into something called the pigeon pose. So we're going to walk our hands forward again. Bring our knees to the floor. Bring your right knee to your right wrist. Foot and shin come across the mat. Slide the left leg back. And then we're going to bow forward over that front leg, forehead to the ground. Nice slow breath here. Now if this pose doesn't serve you, thread the needle pose is going to be a wonderful pose for you to do instead. Right ankle over the left thigh, and lying on our back. It will target the same muscles here. One more breath. Really great deep hip stretch. And then we're going to slowly come out of that, hands back to the floor. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, stretching it out. And then coming to the other side, bringing the left knee across to the left wrist. Foot and shin come across the mat. Lying the body down, forehead to hands, letting the body melt. Softening shoulders. And sinking into that sensation, releasing whatever is there. And to help release, to help open, take an audible sigh as if you're releasing any tension physically or internally out with the breath. And then inhale slowly, walking your hands back up. This time we're going to just sit down on that left hip. Pull the legs forward, and we're going to roll ourselves down onto our back. Hands are going to reach forward, inhale. As we exhale, lower ourselves down onto our back, slowly, slowly, slowly. A big stretch up. Legs extend forward, arms come back. As we exhale, pull the knees into our chest, giving yourself a nice big squeeze in. And then we're going to take our knees slightly wide. So opening the knees apart, letting gravity just open up the inner thighs again. Hands come to the inner ankles on the insides of the knees. And flexing our feet so we're pulling the toes back towards the shins. Now you might just be happy to hold the ankles, or you might be able to take the palms of your hands over the tops of your feet so your fingers wrap around the edges. And then inhaling into happy baby pose, soles of the feet lift upwards to the sky. Pressing the knees down, thighs down. Nice deep breath into the belly. Again, if we need that big sigh, letting go of whatever we're holding on to here. Maybe even a little happy rock from side to side. Happy baby, happy rocking. And then dropping your feet to the floor, either extending your legs straight out, or it might feel good to finish with the knees apart, soles of the feet together. One hand to belly, one hand to chest. And slowing down the breath. And just noticing just a few minutes of practice, how it can change our inner state. Perhaps a day we come to the mat feeling quite stressed. Maybe our energy isn't so high. And perhaps our practice can really transmute that into something new. And just by creating space in the body, we create space in our hearts, and we create that head space. Taking one more restful breath. Your body, your heart, your mind thanks you so much for taking this space in your day. Give yourself a big hug. Pull your knees back into your chest. A big squeeze. Maybe even a little cuddle, a little rock. Coming back to your seat. And just noticing how you feel. And the effects of our practice today. And perhaps spaciousness. A sense of feeling more open, calm, relaxed, and at ease. And I thank you for coming along and practicing with us today. Namaste.